Hi, my name is Riley, and today I'm gonna show you how to start doing shadow work. There's a bunch of different ways to do shadow work, but to start out, you have to reparent your current self. So when you start to reparent your inner child, you know what to do and you know how to properly parent them, and you can actually see what they missed. Also, I'm sorry if you hear the trees saying hello. They're kind of loud today. So, the first part is the hardest part. You have to learn how to be honest with yourself, because a lot of us, especially me, I assumed that I was being honest with myself because, we believe the things that we believe, and that seems true because we believe them, and that just seems like we already know. But then we find ourselves not really being happy because there's so many things in the world that we see are bad, and so many people that we see are bad, and everything gets confuzzled. So I have a whiteboard. I know I'm outside, but I have a whiteboard. Okay, so first thing you're gonna do, you don't have to have a whiteboard, you just need a piece of paper. But I guess I can turn it around here. So you're going to write a list of everything that you feel bad or ashamed for. So a couple of mine are putting myself in bad situations, being mean, telling people no, my body, etc., because not all of them would ever fit on this whiteboard. And then you're going to pick, don't worry if the list is really long, because they're all connected. So don't worry if you have a long list. I had a very, 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 very long list when I started. Then you're going to pick one thing off the list. I picked putting myself in bad situations because that's what bothered me the most. So then you need a new piece of notebook paper, and you need to start with I feel bad for, and then putting myself in bad situations. And then you ask yourself why. Because it's my fault. And then you ask yourself why again. Because I could have done something to stop it. And then you ask yourself why again. Because I could have left or said no. And that's how they're all connected. But I digress. And then you ask yourself why again, because I could have protected myself. And then you ask yourself why 70 million times until you finally get to self-love. That is the end of most of them, is self-love. And sometimes you have to kind of beat around the bush, and it's really hard to figure out some of the answers. And sometimes it's easier if you look at other people and say, well, why do other people protect themselves? Because they love themselves. And in this, you're going to find that there's no good and bad. Good and bad don't exist. Positive and negative don't exist. Everything is understanding. Literally everything is understanding. Love is understanding, not sacrifice. And if you keep that in mind while you're doing this, it'll be a lot easier to do. After this, then you can actually, during this, you'll start healing your inner child. But after you go through your whole list and you really start to see and fully understand that good and bad doesn't exist, everything is understanding, everyone is equal, and it is everyone's birthright to be abundant, and no one is better than anyone else. But you figure out stuff like that, and then you can go back and actually heal your inner child. And since I'm only at 4 minutes, I will go ahead and tell you how. So basically, you think of a not necessarily traumatic event, but you think of events where you were really hurt. at first you might not view them as traumatic. For example, like my first traumatic event was being put into timeout, but that was being put in a small room by myself, bawling, crying, and I came to the conclusion that the people who did it to me did not love me, and that I just wanted to understand why, and then I created an empath. But until I healed it and until I actually looked at it in these terms, I was like, oh yeah, I know that I was throwing a tantrum while I was in timeout, and I know that I thought that those people didn't love me, but I'm sure they did, and it was fine. It was fine, you know, it happens. But after reparenting myself, I can go back to that and be like, I am so sorry that you didn't have the love and understanding that you needed, because you needed to understand yourself, and you needed to understand your environment, and you needed to understand the people in your environment, and they made you sacrifice that, and that was wrong. They shouldn't have done that, and you were right. You had the right to understanding. And then you read that letter to you picture your child self in your head from that moment, and you read that letter to your child self, and then in your mind, in your third eye, with clairvoyance that we all have. If you need to watch my other video on that, you can. But with clairvoyance, you picture your inner child in doing this, and then you bring your inner child back to this current moment and integrate them with your current body now. And what that is doing on an energetic level is basically what happened. Your soul was so scared in those moments of trauma that it broke off a piece of it. And on the third and fourth dimensions, our souls are based on electrons, and time doesn't exist. The only thing that's real is space. So we have to legitimately time travel back to that specific space and get those electrons and bring them back to our soul. So then when we try to manifest the entire world healing, we can do it really, 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 really fast, because we have all of the power of our soul now. And you have to do this, well, you don't have to, but you can do this, and it is highly recommended to do this for every traumatic event that you can think of, because when you're thinking of them and when you picture them in your mind, you're pulling those memories from your chakras, and you're reading your own energy, and with your third eye, because you're picturing it in your head. But you're reading your own energy, and what you're seeing, those events that you're seeing, that's what your chakras are kind of like throwing at you to heal. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm hoping that the trees weren't talking too loud in the background. But even if they were, I hope you can understand both of our messages. That's it.